Rachel was the wife of Jacob, one of the most significant patriarchs in the Bible. But this love story wasn't simple or easy. It was marked by sacrifices and challenges that reveal the depth of true love. Jacob, the grandson of Abraham, met Rachel while fleeing from his brother Esau. Esau was furious because Jacob had stolen his blessing. Jacob went to the land of his relatives in Haran to find a wife. When he arrived, he found Rachel, a beautiful and hard-working young woman who took care of her father Laban's sheep. Picture this: Jacob, exhausted from the long journey, spots Rachel near a well. As soon as he sees her, his heart starts racing. He knew she was special. With great effort, Jacob rolled the stone away from the well and watered Rachel's sheep. This simple gesture was the beginning of a great love. The Bible tells us that Jacob loved Rachel at first sight. To him, the 7 years he worked for Laban, Rachel's father, to earn her hand in marriage felt like only a few days because of the great love he had for her. However, the road to marrying Rachel wasn't easy. After working for 7 years, Jacob was deceived by Laban. On the wedding night, Laban swapped Rachel with her older sister Leah. In that culture, it wasn't customary to marry off the younger daughter before the older one, but it wasn't a strict rule. Laban used this as an excuse to trick Jacob. When Jacob found out, he was devastated, but his love for Rachel was so strong that he agreed to work another 7 years to marry her. Rachel finally became Jacob's wife. She was his beloved, and he always showed her special affection. However, Rachel faced a significant challenge. For a long time, she couldn't have children. This was a great sorrow for her because, in the culture of that time, motherhood was highly valued. After many prayers and hopes, God finally heard Rachel's cries, and she gave birth to Joseph. Joseph, who would later become one of the most powerful men in Egypt, was a sign of God's grace in Rachel's life. Later, she also gave birth to Benjamin, but unfortunately, this joy came with great pain. And you'll understand this better in this video as we delve deeper into the life of this woman who was Jacob's wife. Rachel's name has a very special meaning in Hebrew, Ewe. This name is not only beautiful but also symbolic, reflecting the gentle and pure nature that Rachel possessed. The ewe is an animal that represents innocence, sweetness, and at the same time, great value to shepherds, just as Rachel was to Jacob. Rachel was the daughter of Laban, the brother of Rebekah. To understand the importance of this, we need to remember who Rebekah was. Rebekah was the wife of Isaac and the mother of Jacob and Esau. This means that Rachel and Jacob were cousins, sharing a very close family connection. This family relationship is significant in the biblical narrative. In Rachel's time, marrying within the extended family was common and often desirable because it helped maintain family ties and heritage. So when Jacob met Rachel, he knew he was not only meeting a beautiful woman but also a part of his own lineage. Let's imagine Laban's household for a moment. Laban was a man of wealth, with many flocks and servants. He was a leader in his community, and his house would have been a busy and lively place. Rachel, as Laban's daughter, would have grown up surrounded by responsibilities and learning how to manage the animals, especially the sheep. This experience made Rachel a strong and capable woman, qualities that Jacob quickly noticed and admired. Laban, being Rebekah's brother, played an important role in maintaining family ties. He knew the story of his nephew Jacob, especially Jacob's flight to avoid Esau's wrath, and welcomed Jacob into his home. Jacob, after his encounter with Rachel at the well, was brought to Laban's house, his uncle. From the first moment, it was clear that Jacob was in love with Rachel. She was beautiful and hardworking, tending to her father's sheep. Jacob knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. Laban, being the shrewd businessman he was, quickly recognized Jacob's love for Rachel. When Jacob asked for Rachel's hand in marriage, Laban proposed a deal. Jacob would have to work for him for 7 years. Though this was a long and challenging time, Jacob agreed without hesitation. To him, any sacrifice was worth it to marry Rachel. The 7 years of work were intense. Jacob tended Laban's flocks, ensuring they thrived. Each day, even under the scorching sun or pouring rain, Jacob worked with dedication, always thinking of Rachel. The love he felt for her made the workdays lighter, and the years passed as if they were only a few days. Finally, after 7 years, the long-awaited wedding day arrived. Jacob was filled with joy and anticipation. Laban organized a grand banquet to celebrate the wedding. The party was full of music, dancing, and laughter as everyone prepared for the ceremony. But Laban had other plans. That night, under the cover of darkness and following the traditions of the time, he swapped Rachel for her older sister Leah. Jacob, eager to start his life with Rachel, didn't realize the switch until the next morning. When the sun rose, and he saw he had married Leah, his heart sank. He felt betrayed and devastated. Jacob confronted Laban, asking why he had been deceived. Laban replied that, in their land, it was customary to marry the older daughter before the younger one. But many believe Laban used this excuse to manipulate the situation to his advantage. Jacob, who had already worked for 7 years, now faced a dilemma. His love for Rachel was so strong that even after this betrayal, he was willing to do anything to be with her. Laban proposed a new deal. Jacob could marry Rachel, but he would have to work another 7 years. Jacob, driven by his unwavering love for Rachel, accepted the deal. Though it seemed like an immense sacrifice, his love for her outweighed any hardship. Jacob married Rachel, and after the week-long wedding celebration with Leah, he began his new 7 years of work for Laban. Despite the difficulties and injustice he faced, Jacob was happy to finally have Rachel by his side. He worked hard, but now he had Rachel, the woman he deeply loved, to share his life with. If you're enjoying this riveting story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more inspiring Bible tales. Let's keep exploring the lessons of faith and love that Rachel's story offers. Rachel, Jacob's beloved wife, faced a major challenge in her life. She couldn't have children. Back then, infertility was a heavy burden for a woman. Not being able to give her husband children was seen as a great shame and sorrow. Rachel felt this pain daily, especially watching her sister Leah bear children for Jacob. Desperate, Rachel even pressured Jacob, saying, "Give me children or I'll die." Jacob, in turn, felt powerless, knowing that only God could open Rachel's womb. But he also understood his wife's love and anguish and wanted to find a solution to ease her suffering. At that time, it was customary for a barren wife to give her maid to her husband so that he could have children with her. Those children would be considered as the wife's. Determined to build a family with Jacob, Rachel decided to follow this practice. She offered her maid, Bilhah, to Jacob so he could have children through her. Bilhah conceived and gave birth to a son. Rachel, overjoyed, named him Dan, meaning God has judged. She saw this son as a sign that God had heard her prayers and judged her case favorably. Dan was a gift that brought some relief to Rachel's pain, giving her hope and joy amid her struggle. But Rachel didn't stop there. Bilhah became pregnant again and had another son. Rachel named him Naphtali, meaning my struggle. This name reflected Rachel's internal battle against her infertility and her rivalry with her sister Leah. For Rachel, Naphtali was a symbol of her perseverance and how God was helping her overcome her challenges. With the birth of Dan and Naphtali, the family dynamics of Jacob began to shift. Even though Rachel still hadn't had any biological children, she now had 2 sons through Bilhah. She felt more complete and less pressured by society and her own sorrow. These moments not only brought children but also a new sense of balance and hope for Rachel. Rachel showed herself to be a woman of great faith and determination. She didn't give up in the face of challenges, but found ways to move forward and fight for her happiness. Dan and Naphtali not only brought joy to Rachel, but also demonstrated how God works in mysterious ways to bless those who persevere. Despite finding a temporary solution by offering her maid Bilhah to Jacob, Rachel still dreamed of having her own children. Each day without a biological child was a painful reminder of her infertility. Rachel didn't give up hope and continued to fervently pray to God, asking for a miracle in her life. In her search for a solution, Rachel heard about mandrakes, a plant that was believed to boost fertility at the time. Mandrakes were rare and highly sought after by women wanting to conceive. When her son Reuben brought mandrakes to his mother Leah, Rachel saw an opportunity. She struck a deal with Leah, trading the mandrakes for a night with Jacob. This act showed how far Rachel was willing to go to achieve her dream of becoming a mother. As Rachel used the mandrakes in hopes of conceiving, she didn't stop praying. Her prayers were constant and fervent. Rachel knew that despite the remedies and traditions of the time, it was God who had the power to open her womb. She kept her faith strong, believing that one day her prayers would be answered. Finally, after many years of waiting and countless prayers, God heard Rachel's pleas. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. The birth of Joseph was a moment of great joy and celebration. Rachel, thrilled, named him Joseph, meaning he adds, because she believed that God had not only removed her shame but also blessed her with the hope of more children. Joseph wasn't just a desired child, he became a crucial figure in Israel's history. He would later be known as the governor of Egypt, saving his family and many others during a great famine. Joseph's birth marked the beginning of a significant chapter in Jacob's life and in the history of his people. Rachel recognized that Joseph's birth was a divine gift. She understood that it wasn't the mandrakes but God's power that had blessed her with a child. Her gratitude to God was immense, and she praised him for his goodness and mercy. Rachel and Joseph's story is a powerful lesson in faith and patience. Rachel shows us that even when circumstances seem impossible, persistence in prayer and trust in God can bring miracles. Her example inspires everyone facing challenges to never lose hope. Rachel finally became a biological mother after years of waiting and suffering. Joseph's birth was a response to her fervent prayers and a testament to God's power. This story teaches us about the importance of faith, perseverance, and gratitude. As we continue our fascinating journey through Rachel and Jacob's lives, we come to a moment filled with tension and cunning. This part of the story showcases Rachel's courage and resourcefulness during her family's escape from Laban's house. After many years of hard work for Laban, Jacob decided it was time to leave with his family and possessions. The relationship between Jacob and Laban had deteriorated over time, and Jacob knew he needed to get out to protect his family and build a better future. So he gathered his wives, children, and all his flocks and planned a quiet escape during the night. Rachel, knowing her father and his beliefs well, made a bold decision. She stole Laban's household gods. These idols were considered family deities and held great emotional and religious value for Laban. Some commentators suggest Rachel might have stolen the idols to weaken her father's position or even to secure a claim to the family inheritance. When Laban discovered that Jacob and his family had fled, he was furious. He gathered his men and pursued Jacob, catching up with him in just a few days. Laban confronted Jacob, accusing him of theft. Jacob, unaware that Rachel had taken the idols, allowed Laban to search all their belongings for the missing items. Rachel, showing great cleverness and skill, hid the idols in a clever way. She placed them in the saddle of her camel, and when Laban entered her tent to search, Rachel sat on the saddle. She claimed she was menstruating, a pretext that prevented Laban from asking her to get up. This way, she managed to keep the idols hidden without raising suspicion. After searching all the other tents and finding nothing, Laban had to accept that he couldn't prove his accusations against Jacob. The confrontation ended with a peace pact between Jacob and Laban, where both promised not to harm each other. They set up a heap of stones as a witness to their agreement, and Laban returned to his land while Jacob continued on his way to Canaan. Rachel's actions, though controversial, demonstrated her courage and determination to protect her new life with Jacob. She risked a lot to ensure her family could escape without conflict, showcasing her quick thinking and resourcefulness in a critical situation. This episode highlights the complexity of family dynamics and the challenges faced by Jacob and Rachel. Rachel's bravery in taking drastic measures to protect her family teaches us the importance of staying firm and resourceful in the face of adversity. By stealing and hiding her father's idols, Rachel not only showed her loyalty to Jacob, but also her ability to think on her feet under pressure. After Joseph's birth, Rachel and Jacob's lives were filled with a mix of challenges and blessings. Rachel still longed for more children, and finally, her prayers were answered. She became pregnant again, bringing a new wave of hope and joy to the family. During Jacob and his family's journey to Bethlehem, Rachel began to experience labor pains. The journey was long and tiring, and the conditions were far from ideal for a woman about to give birth. Jacob's caravan was filled with worry but also determination to keep moving forward. Unfortunately, Rachel's labor was not easy. The pains were intense, and complications became evident quickly. Rachel fought bravely, but her body was exhausted. Amidst this, her second child, a healthy boy, was born. In her final moments, Rachel named her newborn Benoni, meaning son of my sorrow or son of my suffering. This name reflected the pain and anguish she felt knowing she wouldn't survive to see her child grow up. It was a moment of deep sadness for everyone around. Jacob, deeply shaken by the imminent loss of his beloved wife, made a significant decision. He changed the boy's name to Benjamin, meaning son of my right hand or son of happiness. This change was not just a gesture of respect for Rachel's memory, but also an attempt to transform the pain of her loss into a reminder of love and joy. Benjamin would be a symbol of a new beginning, even amidst the sorrow. With a heavy heart, Jacob prepared Rachel's burial. She was buried on the way to Bethlehem, in a place that became sacred and memorable. Jacob set up a monument over Rachel's grave, a mark of his eternal love and painful loss. This monument served as a lasting testimony to the impact Rachel had on his life and Israel's history. Though her life was tragically cut short, Rachel left behind a powerful legacy. She was the mother of Joseph, who would become a key figure in saving his family and Egypt's history, and Benjamin, whose lineage would continue to play a vital role among the tribes of Israel. Rachel's story is a testament to faith, perseverance, and unconditional love. Her death reminds us of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing every moment with our loved ones. Her story is a poignant reminder that, even amidst pain and loss, love and faith can guide and strengthen us to move forward. Rachel died giving birth to her second son, Benjamin, and was buried on the way to Bethlehem. After Rachel's death and her burial along the road to Bethlehem, her grave became more than just a place of sadness and mourning. It turned into a significant landmark in Israel's history. The spot where Rachel was buried became a symbol of remembrance and honor, not only for her family but for the entire nation. Jacob, in his grief, made a gesture that transcended the simple act of burying his wife. He erected a monument over Rachel's grave. This monument was more than a stone. It was a tribute to the love Jacob had for Rachel and a reminder of her importance in Jacob's life and Israel's history. It was a sign of respect and eternal longing. Rachel's burial site, located along the road to Bethlehem, took on special significance for future generations. It became a landmark for those traveling through the region. In the biblical context, Bethlehem was a city of great importance, and Rachel's grave served as a constant reminder of the events that shaped the history of Israel's patriarchs and matriarchs. Rachel's grave is mentioned elsewhere in the Bible, confirming its ongoing relevance. In the book of Ruth, Rachel is remembered as an important figure in the building of the house of Israel. And in the book of Jeremiah, Rachel is cited in a prophecy that expresses her lament for the destruction of the northern kingdom, symbolizing the sorrow and loss experienced by the people of Israel. Rachel's grave became a place of memory not just for Jacob's descendants, but for the Israelites in general. It was a place where people could go to remember historical events and reflect on the legacy left by Rachel and her family. The importance of this site is a testament to how events and people intertwine to form a rich tapestry of history and faith. Over the centuries, Rachel's tomb has become a destination for pilgrimages and visits, symbolizing the ongoing memory of Rachel and the importance of her story to the people of Israel. Local traditions and reverence for the site have shown how Rachel's memory has been kept alive through the generations. Today, Rachel's tomb continues to be a historic and spiritual landmark. It serves as a reminder of the lasting impact Rachel had on biblical history and the formation of the people of Israel. Her grave is a symbol of love, loss, and hope, reminding everyone of the importance of honoring the memory of those who came before us. Rachel's grave is much more than just a final resting place. It represents a deep connection to the history of Israel and to the life of one of the Bible's most important matriarchs. This site remains a testament to Rachel's life and legacy, and a symbol of remembrance and reverence for all who know her story. The book of Ruth, which tells the story of a Moabite woman who becomes part of David's lineage and therefore Jesus's, mentions Rachel in an important context. Ruth is a story of loyalty, redemption, and the beauty of divine providence. However, it's at the end of the book of Ruth that we find a reference to Rachel. She is mentioned as one of the figures who contributed to the building of the house of Israel. In this context, Rachel is remembered as one of the founding matriarchs of the people of Israel. Her influence and role as the mother of Joseph and Benjamin are recognized and honored. Ruth, being part of David's lineage, carries with her the spiritual heritage and the continuation of the promises made to the patriarchs, including Rachel. Thus, Rachel is seen as a key piece in the story that culminates in Israel's royal lineage and later, in the lineage of Jesus. The most poignant reference to Rachel appears in the book of Jeremiah, one of the prophetic books of the Old Testament. Jeremiah, known for his lament over Israel's desolation and suffering, makes a symbolic reference to Rachel in the context of the destruction of the northern kingdom. In Jeremiah chapter 31, the prophet uses the image of Rachel weeping for her children. Here, Rachel is depicted as a figure mourning the loss of the Israelites who were taken into captivity. Rachel's lament symbolizes the pain and suffering of the people of Israel during the exile. She becomes an image of the mother grieving the loss and suffering of her children, a powerful and deep symbolism that resonates with Jeremiah's own lament. The image of Rachel weeping is powerful and moving. She is not just mourning her own loss but becoming a representation of Israel's collective suffering. Rachel, who had experienced pain and loss in her own life, now represents the anguish of exile and the heartbreak of the people of God being separated from their promised land. This image deeply touches the hearts of readers and listeners, linking Rachel's past with the present reality of the people of Israel. Rachel's ongoing presence in the biblical narrative shows how her legacy and impact transcend time and space. From the book of Genesis to Jeremiah's prophecies, Rachel is a figure that symbolizes both promise and suffering. Her life and lament become part of a larger narrative that spans the cycle of pain, hope, and redemption in Israel's history. Rachel is more than a figure of the past, she is a lasting symbol in the Bible. Whether in the book of Ruth, where her contribution to the house of Israel is recognized, or in Jeremiah's prophecy, where her lament resonates with the pain of God's people, Rachel remains a significant presence in the scriptures. Her story and references help connect the past with the present and highlight the depth of the impact of biblical figures on the narrative of faith and hope. If Rachel's story has touched your heart and you want to continue exploring the rich narratives of the Bible, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Click the card on your screen to watch the story of Jacob from the beginning. See you in the next video.